Hey everybody, it's me, Angel Benton, and it's time for another Angel Sudsy recap. So I'm going to recap today's episode of Days of Our Lives. So here's the thing about soap operas. And this is all soap operas. This is not just Days of Our Lives. So I don't want it to feel like I'm coming down on Days of Our Lives for this one. Every single soap, with the exception of Bold and the Beautiful, is guilty of this. Well, and even Bold and the Beautiful is guilty of this at times too, actually. So, one thing that I loved about soaps in the 80s, 70s, 90s was that they knew how to do a wedding. A soap wedding was a big deal. You had a location shoot, you had all kinds of people, guests coming, and it was just amazing. Every wedding, right? Who here remembers Bo and Hope getting married at Oak Alley Plantation in New Orleans, right? Or of course on General Hospital, Luke and Laura's wedding. So it's a little bit disappointing, let's put it that way. It's a little bit disappointing that budgets keep getting slashed and slashed, and those big dramatic soap weddings are not around anymore. That's a thing of the past. For example, Steve and Kayla. Now, granted, this is their third wedding, I think. Might be more, but I think it's their third wedding. To each other. Not even just their third wedding as people. This is their third wedding to each other. We see each other. So their third wedding, and it was at a club, right? And I don't know how many weddings have taken place at the Demera house or the Kyriakis house. I mean, like, it just seems like they don't have a venue. At least I will give Brady and Kristen credit, because when they got married, at least it was in a church. Now, granted, it was still a set, but at least it was in a church, right? And everyone else, I mean, it just seems... Now, granted, I've got to give the show credit, because they have kind of gotten away from using that fucking park. I swear to God, that park is going to kill me. So I give them credit for that. You know, it's nice that they... it's nice that they have kind of, gotten away from that crutch, because almost every single scene took place in that goddamn park. It was the worst. So I'm glad that that's happened. Like, there's, if you look at all the scenes today versus all the scenes from like 2 years ago, I mean, it's crazy how many scenes took place in that park. So it's good that they haven't. So I appreciate that. So that's just something I noticed was about the death of the soap wedding. So that got me thinking a lot too. So I started thinking about the show, right? And how, one of the things that they have, because one of the reason why I said Bold and Beautiful is because whenever the Bold and Beautiful does a location shoot, whether it's in Australia, which is coming up, or every single city in Italy, or Monte Carlo, or Paris, or Amsterdam, they always do something special there. Usually it's a wedding. It isn't always, but you know what I'm saying? So, and those weddings are really big deal. And the reason why is because Bold and the Beautiful is sold so much around the world that they can always get whatever they need for that particular shoot, right? And it makes me wonder, well, why is Bold and the Beautiful... I mean, don't get me wrong. There are times when Bold and the Beautiful is on its gig. Like, they have their shit down, right? But every soap is like that. Every soap has their moments where they are awesome. And then every soap, including Bold and Beautiful, has moments when it's like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking it might have to do with their format, because Bold and Beautiful is the only show that's a half an hour, which might be easier to sell to foreign countries. Now, I don't want to see Days shortened to half an hour, but I will say, if I had to choose between Days getting shortened to half an hour to not having any days at all, I would rather see Days shortened to half an hour. Then they could sell it a lot more internationally and maybe actually have a good soap wedding. But that's just my opinion. I don't know that much, so if I'm mistaken, please correct me, but I don't know. It's just really, I don't understand that. So I understand why. I get it, and it's not the soap's call, it's probably the network. So you know, and it's also weird too, the whole ownership structure of the show, because it's half owned by the Corday family, and it's also half owned by Sony, who also owns Young and the Restless and the Bold and the Beautiful. Now you would think that Sony, who's making all the money from Bold and the Beautiful being sold all around the world, would know, okay, Days of Our Lives is in danger of coming off the air. Maybe we need to, make it a little bit more like Bold and Beautiful. Not so much in content, but in terms of time, so that we can sell it a bunch of places. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Someone asked me on Facebook, they said, if you could take one show from NBC's 90-year history and put it into a time capsule, which would you do? And everyone was picking things like Saturday Night Live and Tonight Show with Johnny Carson and Friends and all that crap. And I said, Days of Our Lives. I mean, it's been around for most of those 90 years. Now, it hasn't been around for all 90 years, but it's been around for quite some time. So I would love to see that. So I actually got a lot of people liking that comment, so that's nice. It's nice to know that I'm not the only person trying to keep soaps alive. Although it feels like it sometimes. I just hope Days doesn't get canceled. I'm really praying. I'm praying that they find a way to keep it on the air. It was canceled here in Las Vegas. Not so much canceled, but it was taken off of the air on NBC. Now, Vegas was smart and they moved it to the CW. So I watched it on the CW. But then they moved it back to NBC, and, that was a little bit frustrating just as a TiVo viewer. If you have your TiVo set up for recording NBC at 1 o'clock every day, and then all of a sudden it moves to the CW, the TiVo does not know that it moved to the CW. It won't record anymore because your show isn't on anymore. So I had to manually reset the TiVo, which isn't probably not, in the grand scheme of life, it's not that big of a deal. But, it would be nice if we had a little heads up. But then again, I don't know if that happened all across the country or if that was just something that happened here in Las Vegas. But it's back on NBC now, so I had to do the whole thing over again. Now, the second time I was like, okay, I know what happened. But anyways, as the clock ticks down, because they're 6 months in advance. So all the stuff that they're shooting now, which is February, that'll be airing in August. So right around, hopefully by June, we'll know the fate of the show or not. Because, it would just suck if they decided, in August, oh, we're going to cancel the show. And they've already shot shows through February. And it's like, okay, well, shit. What are we going to do now? Right? Because then they might just end it and we wouldn't, as viewers, we wouldn't have any resolution. I hate that. I hate when a show ends with no resolution for the fans, because that's really annoying. And granted, a lot of times shows don't have the ability to wrap things up. Like, even though I wasn't a big fan of the show Looking, I enjoy that they're doing a movie to wrap up all of their storyline loose ends like that. That makes sense. So I'm very happy that is, and I would hope that they would do the same with Days of Our Lives. And I hope that they would go out with, if they are going out, I would hope they would go out with a primetime special, about the entire show. But none of the ABC soaps did that. All My Children didn't, One Life to Live didn't, and they got canceled. So I'm in a really bad mood today. I don't know why. I shouldn't be. It was a decent episode. Chloe won custody of baby Holly, and Nicole is done. But really, Nicole was kind of an idiot during the trial, right? If you're the mother, and you've got to mind your P's and Q's because you have a whole rap sheet against you, but you know that you're the biological parent of this child, the last thing I would be doing is causing a ruckus in the court, right? I would be minding my P's and Q's for the judge, because everything lies in that judge's hand. But did Nicole do that? No, of course not. She had to go on this big old spiel about how it's her baby and Chloe's lying and blah, blah, blah. And then the judge was like, yeah, and now it's Chloe's baby. Have a nice day. Is Nicole that much of an idiot? No, she's not. Is she being written like an idiot? Kind of. Whatever. You know I love Nicole. Thank you so much for logging on today. I do appreciate it. Please feel free to follow me on Twitter at Angel Benton. Hashtag Days to Talk Days of Our Lives. You can also hashtag YR to Talk Young and the Restless. And hopefully I will see you soon. Take care, everyone. Peace out. Wubba, wubba, wubba.